Hey guys, welcome back to the GSL Code A. We are in our evening session full production studio. We're going to be able to see our beautiful faces in just a moment. And that's Hot 6 Lite. I don't even know what Hot 6 Lite is. I just saw that for the first time today, and
no idea.
I kind of want to see what that is.
I never even saw that. I mean, do we have some of that here?
I don't, maybe it's a small can, I guess. It's probably a small can.
We have to double check as soon as we're on the break.
Yeah.
Well, welcome guys to our second to the evening show today at Code A, and we had a couple of great matches already this afternoon, but now we're heading into, I feel like, the even more spectacular ones.
Yeah. Usually when it gets to be nighttime in Seoul, it gets really cold, gets a little bit dark, but the studio feels really bright because we've got awesome players. It just gets better and better as the day goes on. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to see some of these players, see if they can actually make it through. This is the second stage of testing, really, for Code A. It's like, are you good enough to go to the final round of Code A, or are you just going to fall in like everybody else?
If you have to go to the up and downs, of course, then you still have a chance to get into Code S. You have to win one of the groups, though. Winner predictions, there once mentioned before. You have to go to GOMTV.net, and then you can just give your personal opinion on who's going to take the match.
Yeah, definitely go and do that. It's always really exciting for us to see what you guys think. And, you know, your predictions will be heard. Everyone is going to see them, of course, on screen. We had some crazy predictions. You know, yesterday a player had 10%, something like that, and ended up winning. Not going to spoil that result. But here's some information about the grand finals that are coming up. Calder and I will be casting this. You can see it. Here is the format. It's going to be GSL Code S format. 2 groups of 5 players, best of 3s. The top 3 players from each group, though, will go to the playoffs.
Exactly, and you can pick up a ticket at GOMTV.net, of course, and everyone who get a ticket will also participate in a raffle, as far as I was told, where you can win some great prizes. I don't know exactly what's in the pool, but apparently there's prizes, pretty cool things.
Yeah. And now, actually, something else to consider is that if you buy a 2013 yearly ticket, you're actually going to get the Grand Final Tour as a free bonus as well. That's a deal that's going on. I believe it was announced today. Definitely go to the forums and verify that for yourself. Looking on screen here, we're seeing these are the players in the groups and the schedule of matches, 10 matches a day.
And that's only for the first 2 days when we have the group stage. So a lot of action going on starting on December 17. And a lot of really amazing players. Only one Terran player was able to make it into the groups, though. MVP, of course, but, well, this guy, if you win 4 titles in the GSL, you should probably... Yeah, people should be watching out for him in the group stage of the final tournament this year as well.
Yeah, spoilers for yesterday's matches. MVP crushed his opponent, made it look easy, and he might be right back into Code S. So, anyways, here's what I was talking about earlier. You get the great prizes, you know, get into that raffle, as Calder mentioned earlier, but if you get a 2013 yearly GSL ticket, you will get, for free, that Grand Tournament Finals.
Yeah, exactly. And well, today, of course, we have also a couple of really exciting players, not the same ones that we are going to see next week, but we have a quick look at our afternoon matches that we had today.
Yep.
And at the results, here they are.
There they are.
Starting with Shine, who lost to SOS. Squirtle was not able to beat Yonghwa. Keen triumphed over Bial. And at the end of the day, Vampire took down a Trap with a quick 2-0. No problems for him. And let's have a quick look at the players in our evening session.
Yep, we're going to see the players that we are going to see today right now. Starting with Fantasy versus Finale, MC versus Roro. First, we'll face Hero. This guy has had all sorts of champagne thrown at him recently. And then last but not least, we have Tasia up against Genius, the former Next teammates. That's going to be awesome to see.
After Hero kind of embarrassed himself at DreamHack with a champagne party, NASL showed him how it's done.
Yeah, definitely doing a great job there with the champagne in the second phase. But you know what? With both those tournaments, he took first place, looking like a top international contender right now. First, on the other hand, is not going to be an easy opponent for him. It's not going to be an easy matchup for us versus Protoss. So my favorite match of the night, though, is definitely Tasia versus Genius. They're old teammates, like old school clan members from Next playing against each other.
My personal highlight is actually MC versus Roro. I think that's going to be a really good one. MC is, of course, a huge fan favorite player, but Roro, a lot of the players that came over from Casper and also the ESF players said that he's one of the best Zerg players that are in Casper. And he kind of underperformed a little bit at WCS Grand Finals. So I want to see what he's doing this time. But before we start into all these games that we just mentioned, we are starting things off with the Terran versus Protoss with Fantasy up against Finale.
Yep, Finale coming down from Code S, in fact. This guy has surprised a lot of people with his sudden outburst of skill. He's always been a top player in Team League, but this is really one of his first runs that's been super successful in the individual leagues.
Now he's in the second round of Code S though, and he has to beat the SK Telecom Terran player, has to beat Fantasy here, who came up from Code B, won one of the qualifier grids.
Yeah, he's on his way to a great start, taking his first win. Now, can he prove himself? Can he show that that was not a fluke, that he is actually ready to go to the final round of Code A in his first season?
Fantasy to the left here, and Finale to the right in one of the new MVP jackets. Now our first map in this Terran vs Protoss is going to be Whirlwind.
A very big map. You know, some people say that's good for Protoss, but other Protoss players say that on this map it's really easy for a Terran to harass them. And I think it's a really balanced map for this matchup in particular, and I can't wait to see if Finale has got one of his tricky MVP strategies up his sleeve, or is he going to have something planned for the late game for Storms and Colossi?
We're going to find out in just a few seconds. Our first game today, the evening session here at the GSL Code A, the second round. We have a Terran versus Protoss with MVP Finale up against SK Telecom Fantasy. And Fantasy, of course, a player that a lot of people will watch out for now. He was successful in the Code A qualifier, which is pretty tough to pull off. But he's here in Code A right now in the second round when he prevailed, though, against a player who has already been in Code S. Map number 1 is loaded. Let's jump right into it. To the top left, we have the SK Telecom player. It is the Terran Inrat and his ideas.
SK Telecom T1 Fantasy.
That is Heaven zoom in. Heaven is actually doing our observing today. I wanted to point that out. Is Legend has a trip tomorrow to the Philippines.
What?
Yeah, that's what he just told me in the chat. He's got a trip to the Philippines tomorrow.
Okay. Bottom left, we have the opponent of Fantasy, a Protoss player for Team MVP. Will it be the Grand
MVP Finale?
You know, MVP as a team is doing so well right now. All of their players are winning their matches. They didn't win Team League finals, but I gotta say, for them, they just seem like they don't really care. I mean, obviously they wanted to take that win, but since they're doing so well in the individual leagues, making it to the finals alone was a pretty good accomplishment.
I mean, today we had so many MVP players already performing and doing a really great job. So now it's up to Finale to make sure that the MVP coach has a really happy day.
Yep. Uh-oh, a little bit lacking in the EPM Fantasy. He's doing too much spam and he's not using the useful kind of APM.
Is that the E-penis meter or?
Basically.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. That's what it starts to seem like, for sure.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure. I was not 100% on that. Yep. Well, we have actually a command center first now, starting for Fantasy here, whereas Finale is getting the gas and his gateway. No Nexus first for him on Daybreak.
Yep, he's just playing very straight up. And at this point, with the core going down, we'll find out in just a moment if he's going to take his second gas. On a map like this, I would expect a pretty straightforward one gas expand. Anything else would be a little bit weird. Nobody really techs off one base on this map, and to do a double gas expand is too safe for the map.
Yeah, we sometimes have heavy gateway pressure, but not all that often, so that's just what you can do in order to pressure your opponent, but there it is. The expansion as expected from Finale, Team MVP. And then these guys, Sniper winning the Code S season, so many of them performing well in the individual league. Mentioned the runner-up slot that they got at the GSL. MVP is one of those teams that is definitely completely in tip-top shape these days. Another one would be Team StarTale. They are also doing quite well. But today, Squirtle, well, he lost. Yesterday we had Bomber, who was also not successful. Had a very tough opponent though. Had to face Gumiho.
It was not easy. And Bomber and Gumiho have such a history. They play against each other so many times, and Gumiho has shut him down specifically more than any other player, he feels like, and he even talked about it. He's like, I hate that I have to keep facing him. You know, I don't always win against him. He's beaten me so many times. It's so frustrating I have to keep facing him, but he really respects him as a player.
And in general, StarTale is just like Team MVP, one of the teams that is doing really well with players like Parting in Life, performing extremely well in foreign tournaments, Parting taking a BWC global title, and of course also WCG. But well, he finds himself these days in Korea as well. Has to play with the next few days in the round of 24.
By the way, I just wanted to point out, that's everything you just said is true. I just want to make sure everybody knows that Probe did not see it. The Observer just highlighted as well, so I feel really silly at this point. But the SCV, however, did see the Nexus, and the Observer will not point that out because that was plain sight what we just saw.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that.
No, thank you. That was important information. That should be said.
It's important. What's more important now, though, is that we may have, well, we will have for sure now, Reactor Hellions. That factory wasn't floating for no reason.
No.
We're actually going to see Reactor
don't.
Hellions, man, in this matchup.
Yep, and we have the first few... Well, we have the first starport now being built, so you can get the medivac out in order to just medivac a few of those Hellions into the base. But right now, to this point, everything is just pretty standard. Both players playing it simple here. We now have the robotics coming up for our Protoss player, of course. You need to have a bit of protection out there. Yeah. If there's going to be a Banshee plane, you aren't ready with the robotics, then you will pay for it dearly.
It's also great to see if your opponent goes for a fast third command center. But in this case, we are actually going to have Cloak as a follow-up.
Yeah.
This build is really old. You've seen players like Byun do this build after a command center first on Tall Dream Ultra back in the day when that first came out. He's not really going to be able to get a lot of probe kills here, but this gives him some scouting information. And if Finale had made a big mistake with his micro, wow. There he goes, pulls him away. But if he had made a lot of mistakes, he could have done more damage.
That actually looked really, really funny. The Hellion trying desperately to get out of the force field, everyone else trying to get towards the Hellion, who's like, no.
It did look really strange.
I'm gonna stay in that corner and hope that my force field disappears first.
Okay, the Observer just popped out. For a moment I thought he
Another
canceled
command center here, while the Banshee is now on its way. A Wolf in a second, and Cloak already halfway done. There comes the scan, sees the robotics, knows there's an Observer.
Yeah, and the second Observer is on its way. And that second Observer is so crucial because if he had only made one and then started Mortal production, he might not have had an Observer ready for this Banshee. If the Observer actually sees the Banshee, this will be great for Finale, but I don't think that's going to happen. They're just barely going to miss each other. Oh, he sees it for a second.
Yeah, but he's going to be fine with Observer number 2.
Yeah, but it's so important that now he knows to keep that Observer there and position his Stalkers. He shouldn't lose more than 3 probes here max.
And immediately we also have the Twilight Council with the first Forge, and here we go, that Cloak was completely useless.
Yep, he wishes he cancelled it now.
Fantasy is returning with this Banshee, he's like, nah, okay, well, maybe later.
Yeah, maybe later, but as for now, nothing to it. And in fact, he almost gets the sentry, gets that sentry.
Nice.
That's worth it. Not for the Cloak research, but it's worth it for this Banshee.
That's just the Banshee trying to be a little bit useful here. And it's still alive, so if you can use it later to take down a couple of drones.
Yes.
That's all that he needs. Charge, very early in the game, and a +1 attack. This is this charge style that we have seen in this matchup for a while now.
It's a very important upgrade to have in this matchup, particularly. So if you don't have AoE damage out, you're trying to expand heavily, get your tech going. You want to have
spot.
Oh wow!
Finds the dead spot here where you can take down the pylon.
Yeah, that's really nicely done. But really important here also is that Finale has made a pylon here, but he doesn't see the command center with it actually at the third base.
Another Banshee trying to go in.
Yeah, he can't quite do any damage. But this pylon is actually now still not in vision of the command center. This is really ironic.
And another sentry, he's going to lose another one. Actually, he might lose 2. Oh, doesn't take the risk here.
Yeah, Fantasy being a little bit cautious. Could have lost it, you're so right though.
But well done. I mean, now with those Banshees, he really made the Cloak work.
Yes.
And Finale is moving out right now. He's completely fed up with what he sees. He's trying to get a little bit aggressive on his own. And now he sees yeah, now he sees the CC. Walks into Zealots.
The CC see the Zealots too, so this is actually really unfortunate for Finale because the Zealots aren't going to do very much damage, but he's going to lose his forward warping point. However, if he can actually catch this army out of position and do some good force fields, he might be able to take this fight. Oh, barely the Zealots don't finish.
The Zealots don't finish, but here comes the Immortal and the rest of the army. Immortal immediately starts to focus down a few of the Hellions. And he gets out with 2 medivacs, but this expansion is now really exposed, and therefore the SCVs will all die.
Yeah, all of them are dying, and he actually traded pretty well there, and the fight is not over. He's forced to make 2 additional bunkers right now. Archons are going down for Finale, and he's got another warp-in point.
Fantasy doesn't even have Combat Shield.
Yeah, he does not. It's almost done, but not quite.
Here come the Banshees again on the other hand, and that's a different story because now a lot of those probes are going to bite the dust.
That Immortal is exposed as well. It can't shoot upwards. And 2 Banshees can one-shot a probe, so he's got to be careful to deal with these later on.
Bye Immortal. That's quite annoying.
Yeah, that's really nicely done by Fantasy. And Fantasy, I think, has enough to defend now.
Fantasy also has nearly +1/+1. These upgrades are completing in just a few seconds, and Finale might have waited a little bit too long.
The Archon's trying to make something work here, but unfortunately for them, there's just too much DPS on the other side with the Medivacs to heal. 4 Medivacs out. He does not have enough AoE damage there without Storm.
The upgrades all should just kicked in, and now he's really in a good spot with his 127 supply. Gets the 3rd base again, and Finale is also on 3 bases now. At least he's building the 3rd Nexus. And well, I have to say right now, a bit back and forth game between the 2 of them. Finale being a little more aggressive than forcing the 3rd off for a liftoff. And of course now with the upgrade advantage and all this time that Fantasy has, he is trying to get a bit more map control, controlling the Zalnaga Watchtower, and we have Ghost Academy on the tab.
Yeah, Ghost Academy starting here, and these Hellions only get 1 kill, but they spot the Nexus once more. They also see that, the most important part about spotting this Nexus, I feel, is seeing that there was no mining there just yet. So he's like, alright, you've had this up for a while. I had to lift my command center for a while, but I had it up faster. You also weren't mining right away, you didn't transfer your probes, so he's got a good idea about where Finale's economy is really right now.
What's really pretty cool about Fantasy is his upgrade mechanics. +2/+2, whereas Finale just now finishes the first armor upgrade. So he's really paying attention to it. He's not falling behind. He's not up against Creator here, but still it's quite impressive that he's able to do that.
This is a cool Zealot attack by that pylon earlier, and he actually, even though he doesn't kill any SCVs, he trades well against the bio units there. But Fantasy is happy to trade, and you're right, there's a double drop coming through.
Yeah, but it didn't do anything because those Zealots were ready, and well, Finale saw what was coming. He really saw it. And at the same time, the Banshees are eating it. Fantasy has a pretty good macro, I have to say. That is really impressive. Those Banshees still alive from the early game. And he took down so many Harvesters. He killed 20 during the entire stage of the game.
Yeah, and it's not going to stop there. He's killing them. You can one-shot a probe with 2 Banshees, of course, because it takes 2 shots to kill a probe. And I love that he repaired these Banshees and came back to do his damage. Between the 2 Banshees, he's got 30 kills.
It's getting a little bit insane. 30 kills already. And that's just while he waits with his army and with this double drop at the 3rd and the main base. And in the main base, we see the double drop. And he drops even though there are Zealots. And now even the High Templars with bam, bam, feedback.
Yeah, good reaction time there by Finale, but he's just not trading as efficiently as Fantasy is in these fights. Fantasy, like you said, his macro is not missing a beat. He's up 40 supply. And what you are seeing is the multitasking of one of the world's best StarCraft 1 players at work here, switching over to StarCraft 2, finally really starting to realize how this game works out, exactly how to use Banshees, for harassment, for example. Very different from Wraiths, using drops, very different from drops in StarCraft 1, but really starting to realize exactly what he can do with his multitasking here.
If he is going to follow the example of a few of his former StarCraft 2 players that started earlier, he will call himself Banshee King in just a few weeks. Oh, you wait, so. Wolf. You know it's gonna happen.
We're laughing now, but it's not gonna be so funny when he really does it.
Banshee King.
No, that's not my fantasy, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I really hope that's not gonna happen.
Yep. Well, it looks like these Banshees are actually out of corner. They can't really get away.
Yeah, might be the Banshee
okay.
Prince here, but
once the Banshees are dead, though, he can actually use that supply for more useful units, more combat units. He's got so many ghosts up here.
Fantasy is sitting in his booth. He's like, that title is gone now. Not the Banshee King after all. But his EMPs are spot on. Nice feedbacks here, but still.
He feedbacks, but he wants the storms instead, There's so much healing here.
There are no storms anymore left, Wolf, and this is a lot of DPS by Fantasy. This might be too much for Finale to handle.
I think it certainly is going to be too much. He's got even upgrades right now, but he's ahead with 3-3. That Colossus could be a problem. He wants to go forward and target the Templar, and he does great micro there.
He snipes the Templar with a small task force, starts in really well done. Oh my god, Fantasy, why are you so good? This is amazing. Awesome EMPs once again. The shields are gone. GG. What a game by Fantasy.
Taking that win, and look at the new SK Telecom jersey. It's looking swanky, man. They're not using the normal SKT colors there.
The colors that they use that are Kaldor colors right there.
Yeah, those are counter colors, and they even match your shirt.
Yeah.
And look at, he's got even the blue MVP shirt underneath there too. Everyone's matching you today.
Yeah, blue and black. And I'm not talking about the Harry Potter outfit that I'm currently wearing, no.
Even the Hot 6, and look at the Blizzard logo. Even in-game in StarCraft. What is happening, Kaldor?
No, you're overdoing it.
What is going on?
You already crossed the line, Wolf.
Finale's blue in-game.
Stop it. Wolf, Beetle. Oh man, but that game was really impressive. I mean, Fantasy was everywhere. That Banshee micro was amazing, and later on how he dealt with those High Templars and with the army of his opponent. The Ghosts were everywhere and dominated things. Even though Finale moved in with the feedbacks, there was just not a single storm in this game.
Yeah, not one. He wanted to get those storms, and had those Templar been able to close the distance and get the storms off, things would have been different. But do you storm the ghosts? No, because then you don't storm the army and you don't kill any of the ghosts. You feedback the ghosts. You can't physically feedback the ghosts fast enough and get the storms. He doesn't even have enough energy for that. Fantasy really impressed me in that game. Just his multitasking with the Banshees, being able to send them home repair while defending Zealot run bys and holding a fast third on a big map, and keeping up with the drop play.
Yeah.
That was insane.
That was pretty cool. And Toon Valley is going to be our second map. Game number 2 is on its way, and well, I want to see if Fantasy can do it again, or if Finale will be able to force game 3 here out of his opponent. It's not going to be an easy task. We saw it in game number 1. That's going to be tricky. So ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for Fantasy versus Finale. SK Telecom 1 versus MVP here at the GSL Code A, brought to you by Colin Wolf.
Over the radio and back up in the raves again. We got the crowd on the wave like it's a stadium.